Good afternoon. Welcome to OptionsTender. It's FOMC day, Wednesday, March 19th, 2025. Welcome. So we're having a big green day today. We're looking for this bounce. I do think this has gotten started, and we're looking for some follow through coming up in the next several days. And I'll show you today where those targets may be and where we should end up afterwards. Okay, you guys know I'm bearish, but we have to play the bounces. We're short-term traders, and so we're looking for trades to the upside and the downside. We had our anyway, I'll just go into it right now. So if you're new here, go down to that bottom right hand corner, hit that OptionsTender logo, and subscribe. If you want to get these videos intraday, consider becoming a YouTube member. Starts off at 99 cents, not Patreon. I can't integrate the YouTube permissions with Patreon. So consider becoming a YouTube member, 99 cents or $4.99 for the individual analysis if you want to get more detailed individual stock names and tech market and things like that. Also, if you are now a Patreon, you can consider, canceling that subscription and coming over to YouTube. Okay. All right, let's do this. We have SPX on the daily time frame. We're looking at the traditional look here and the technical analysis. I have a nice clean chart for SPX. A bearish rising wedge broke down from, came into this support area we talked about so many times. So we're hitting that area. Now we'll start adding in resistances. We are taking off. We're getting out of that consolidation zone. This is a breakout. We're looking for the next few days to be quite relentless. As a matter of fact, we may see a pause here and there, but this should be a pretty direct move, seeing how this is an impulse wave at this point. All right, so adding on our very important McClellan oscillator, we'll take a look. Again, we saw this happening. We saw this get oversold. We're in the oversold territory into support, and we saw the breakout, the early breakout, even though this was a messy ABC for new highs here. And we're looking to get into a very overbought situation before really kind of selling our calls and turning into puts. All right, so let's see here. Let's go on to the OptionsTender setup. We have our MACD, RSI, and slow stoke. From the MACD point of view, we're still looking for that crossover. Okay, so we need some confirmation. We might stall out here at the 200 moving average for this MACD. And then maybe that's where we'll get our pause, or perhaps we even gap over that coming up. But I think that's our first stop here is the 200, which is, I'm highlighting right now on the right-hand side, is about 574. And we'll look at SPY, and that's going to be an important number. I said 574 because SPY is about 574, but this is 5746 if you're on SPX. There's a reason why this is going to be important, and I'll show you on that lower time frame. So looking at the RSI, starting to strengthen. We had that positive divergence, and now you see that this is starting to break out, and we should see a nice cycle up here to the overbought situation. All right, and the slow stoke, again, we got our buy signal. So what I imagine we see on this one is that with this being an impulse wave, I'm not sure that we're going to get an up and down pattern very similar to this one. I think this one's going to be a situation where we perhaps kind of get nailed up here, okay? Where we get stuck up, oscillating up in these overbought territory conditions, okay? So that's what we're looking for on this. And then when we actually get a follow through, we'll be looking for a sell signal in the future. And time wise, I'm looking at the end of March for this bounce to hold up here. Now, this should be pretty much a straight line on the daily time frame, but intraday, clearly when we get to these different moving averages, you have the 200, the 20, the 50 all the way up here, and then we'll talk about on the weekend the 20 week moving average is somewhere up here near the 6,000 point here, 600 on SPY. Okay, looking at DMARC really quickly. We're at the 4 count. Let's continue to monitor this. We're looking for a 9 count as we ascend. Awesome oscillator. Continuing to move up to this area. I think we'll get to this 0 line, maybe even a whipsaw before heading lower. All right, and then we'll go over to SPY for the rest of the analysis here. So the first off, we'll have this money flow index where we had, looking closely, this is going to oscillate to the upper end of the overbought area. So we had a positive divergence here. And so we'll just continue to monitor this as it goes up, as price also ascends. And Bollinger Band, RSI is nowhere near overbought. And here we have, I'm going to highlight that about 577. By the time we get there, it might even be 574 or so. And, this is going to be an important area. And again, I'll show you why. But first, let's go ahead and look at the other boards here. Now, here are our retracements. We had trouble here with the 23.6. That's where we formed our A, B, and we're breaking out of the wave C. And so we should see somewhere around this 382. Just so happens to be 574, right? That's what we're keeping an eye on. 574 is the 382, but that's not all, you guys. Let's look over to, first of all, before we move over the board, we're looking at 320. So that's Thursday, that's tomorrow. We'll be looking for some sort of maybe pause, something to happen there, but we really have a cluster going into 329. So this is the important cluster that we'll be looking for the end of March. I think that will lead us up higher, possibly to the 72% retracement, or even higher to the 786. This is going to bring in a lot of bullish players here. And I think they're going to really ramp this to the upside, kind of grind in this zone here. We won't be playing this very aggressive once we get up to the 62, because that was your golden ratio retracement, and that's where we'll start to layer in outdate puts, get those shorts, some SQQs and things like that, and go way out to later dates. Okay, so let's go down to the 65. Let's see if we got anything on this board. Nothing on this board yet. We're just looking for wave 1 and 2. So basically this is just a back test of that bearish rising wedge. And now let's go to the 65. All right, here's a good look at the 65. Now you can see why we paused here. We have a geometric line. This could be a downtrend line since we have 3 touches. It's valid, right? So we were looking for this first breakout. Lots of lines here. So we're looking at this downtrend line. We're having a little bit of trouble there, and we're into the gap area. I wouldn't think that we actually broke out today, but I think we'll have a gap up over it tomorrow. We close that gap. I can get rid of that. In the meantime, we'll start to build our uptrend lines here. And what we're looking at is a possible, so we had the breakout from the downtrend. That's where we started going bullish here, and had a back test of that old megaphone. All right, and so we have the FOMC. I'll move this out. May 7th is the next one. And keep our eye. You always got to keep your eye on where the target is for these FOMC days, because price action does, perhaps we have a new low into the next FOMC, and we'll see how that goes. So uptrend line here. This is a traditional look. I think that we make it up here to 574. That's what we're talking about. 574 is going to be a key area. Not only we're probably going to spike through it close this gap perhaps, but I do think we'll pause here, at least intraday, at the options expected move. We have the 200 moving average. You have the 382 retracement, the Fibonacci, and you have this options expected move for the week. So that's going to be an important area that I think we make it to. Now, changing boards. This is the projection. We didn't make it down to the 62. It's okay. We took profit off here, the 50%, and the Qs made it down to the 62. Now we're starting our ascent for the C wave. So, this could be, there's a lot of different ways you could look at this. If we start to get more of a dip, perhaps this is the initial move, and then we have an A, B, and then a C down here to the 62% retracement. There's nothing that says that can't happen. But if we hold trend, then what I think really is happening is we had an impulse move, you had an expanded flat for an A. I think this actually ended here, an A, B, and then C for the B wave. And now we're going to C with an impulse. So maybe if we pull back just a little bit, we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave move possible. And so maybe this is the 1, 2 setup going into the wave 3. Otherwise, this could just continue to go higher at this point where it's a 1, 2, 1, 2, and maybe we're just getting a little pullback for a lesser degree 1, 2. So that could be a nesting here as well. So we'll have to pay attention to those, see how that goes. But I do think ultimately we make it up here to the 574. So if price pulls back a little bit more, maybe this 23.6 is the zone where price holds here. That'd be a good support, and then that's a buying opportunity there as well. And you can continue the 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 all the way up. And we'll continue to monitor that each and every day. So let's go back to the traditional board and look at some of the indicators. We want to look at the options tender setup. So you have the MACD curling up. It held on to that 0 zone. And so I think there was a really good chance that we could hold on to this trend line and continue to move higher. That's what this is suggesting. We're curling back up. Momentum is heading to the upside. We're in overbought conditions. But again, I think this has more of an opportunity since we're in a possible impulse wave 3 that this is going to burn and rotate much higher into the 80, 90s and then start to form divergences as price gets up a lot higher there. So again, just like this scene here, or even like this, I think price will oscillate for the slow stoke higher at this point. So you could consider this negative divergence, but if knowing the structure that we're in, this possibly is not negative divergence and this just burns through. So be careful if you're bearish at this point. Breadth was looking good. We were talking in the Discord. We watched the advanced decline here, SP 500. It gained momentum, but we talked mostly about the tick. Tick was pushing up higher. It was looking good into the bullish zone. And then especially the ADD. So one of these days, I'm going to show you my daily setup. I do think I have a video for that. But for now, we'll keep this in mind. We have the ADD here, and that was strengthening the entire day. So we'll show you that setup sometime. And leave in the comments. Let me know if that's what you want to see. If you want to see what I look at during the day, I can make an entire video if I have not done so already on that. All right, the DMARC. So we're all the way up to an 8. We had the 9 count here, and then we had our correction, which I think was an expanded B, ABC into B. And now I think we're getting an 8. Perhaps we get a 9 count and we pull back for a wave 2, but I'm going to hold on to everything. I don't have any puts. I'm just holding on to calls. Perhaps this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we have to pull back a little bit. But again, this is a good support here. We had at the 564, so I do suspect that support will hold. All right, sorry about that. I had to pause, say hi to the wife. So far rejecting off of this downtrend line here, but again, I think we get above that tomorrow. With this initial move, perhaps we come back down to test the trend here. We'll see if this trend holds, and we'll go from there. What are we looking at now? We looked at the D-Mark, awesome oscillator here on 65. Okay, so again, you know, if you're bearish, maybe you're looking at this as an ABC and you're looking for lower prices, and this is negative divergence. I would just, again, I would be very careful on that happening. We have different indicators and things that are showing strength. So the McClellan oscillator, I want to reiterate on the daily time frame, we saw that gaining strength, not in a downtrend. We're looking at that getting stronger. All right, money flow, Bollinger Band. There we go. Again, it looks pretty harsh, right? You know, we're very volatile right now. We're in the top of the Bollinger Band with slightly oversold condition or overbought conditions. So maybe this is warranted for a pullback. If we break this trend line, then perhaps I was wrong. We'll see how that goes. But this, again, maybe after you had this A, B, or maybe the whole A, B, C is not done yet. But I think a low is in. We have timing cycles that say the same thing. So I am not worried about this. Even if this comes all the way back to test the 558, perhaps this was an A expanded B into a C for expanded flat. Otherwise, we're holding on. This trend's good. The trend is your friend. We're headed to the upside. All right, so let's go around the horn for QQQ. On the Qs, I think we should do the daily time frame. And I think before I actually went through all the dailies first. But let's just look at this for now. So we have, just like SPY, we actually have this, you know, big candle right here, and we'll start that with the range 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 days. 8 days in this range, and I think SPY was 7 or 8. So this eventually is going to break out. After we see some strength, we're going to need some help from the other big tech stocks and overall breadth as well. So small caps and DIA and such. But I do think this is going to continue higher. We're still in this zone here, and that would represent the weekly time frame. We're still in that weekly candle. SMH. Now SMH, if we put on, okay, still having trouble with that megaphone. And, you know, maybe this is just a back test and maybe it goes lower. Okay, that's the risk that we have here. But I want to see this hold up well and get back above the 228. So if you're bearish right now, clearly this is a good setup. But again, we're starting to see strength, and you want to be careful and have your stop above maybe these candles here. So if you're bearish, maybe get out of this if we start to break higher. I do think in the past, I would have been short here in an instant. We'll see how this goes. FOMC is crazy, so crazy volatile. So just be careful and don't use all of your powder at once. Let's go for IWM. IWM, again, we had this solid area, even though I can't really count this, perhaps 1, 2, 1, 2, and we had lower. That's possible, but we are in really good support. So we'll see what happens at this point. Do we have an initial wave up and we have to pull back to test this zone again? It's possible. But again, if we continue to see strength, then, you know, I think this is just going to lead us higher directly from this point. And we can have a trend line on the 65 at that point there. So, and we'll continue that trend. DIA, I do suspect that this will start to help out. it was leading to the upside. And now it looks like we're near resistance. So we might see a little pause here at 423. But again, this, I don't know if this is going to start heading lower at this point. Let's see how these hold up, how they complement each other. But I do think tech is going to start leading the way on the upside anyway. And we'll see if these just at least complement that move at this point. So we will continue to monitor. And now VIX, super important. On the daily time frame, we were talking about, I can see that we're into support here, so maybe that's why the market is pausing for a second. So we started to draw this channel here, and we're moving up and down in this channel. I do think that we may even back test all the way down to the channel bottom here. All right. And so we'll look on the 65. Let me undo that change there. So we do have a cycle here, and that cycle for a low in the VIX does end around the end of the month, and we're looking into the end of March or April. So again, sure, we have support coming up here soon. So does that hold and price start to bounce here in the VIX? I mean, anything's possible, but I do think if we do bounce, we'll probably hit resistance or so and then start heading lower. So just make sure you, again, have that powder dry just in case there's a setup in SPY, and we'll revisit that one more time before we go. Let me look at the 65 here, and we'll end this video after I conclude here with SPY. So with the VIX like this, so is this a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 wave move here? Well, we're down at the lower edge of the options expected move. So first off, it's a low probability that we'll make it all the way back up this week to the higher in the options expected move. But just keep in mind, I talked about this the other day, and I had a YouTube short as well. This channel is a downtrend, and I think this continues to head lower. So the first indicator that says there's a pullback, I'd close that gap, that if we break out from this channel, this downtrend, we break out from it, then something else is probably happening. We're probably pulling out, we're probably pulling back on SPY, okay? So if the VIX starts to break out, that probably means that we're done with some sort of move here, and we're going to break this trend line to the downside, and we'll continue our descent down here. Now, I'm guessing that some people are looking at this as a wave 4, so let's check that real quick. If this is a wave 2, which no matter what, I think this is the wave 2, let's add a retracement, and a wave 4 should not get over, and this would probably be, so we're already kind of negating that 382, if you noticed right up there. Okay, and then somebody's going to say, well, why don't you put it all the way up to the top here? That's possible. All right, so it's possible. We're going to use this as the bull bear line, okay? So 560, 569, approximately 569, we'll use that, and I'm just going to keep that level on there. That will be our bull bear level. Get rid of all these, and we'll make this just a different color here. So we're going to have to break this. We'll keep this in mind for each video that I do. As soon as we get on top of 568.70 approximately, that will be our bull bear line. Okay, we get on top of it, we're bullish. Right now, technically it's a setup. You do have a 5-wave move up here. Okay, so maybe this is A, B, C, and then we head lower. So that's the risk. I'm glad we did this kind of live here. I know recording. So you can see what the risk would be. An A, B, and then a 5-wave move up for C. So that would be an ABC for an A, an ABC down here for B, or however you want to count that, and then the 5-wave move up for C. If you're a bear, that's where we should reject off of right here. So if we start gapping down and we start breaking down, and with some sort of impulse, then that's probably wave 5 heading lower. All right. So that's why we're pausing right here. That's why this is so important. This 382. Again, just be careful. I think everything's pointing that the low is in. I think this is an objective short if you want to do that. But our cycles, everything that we have points to this to breaking above this 382, 569, and continuing our ascent up here. All right, we'll leave it at that. Thanks for joining us here at OptionsTender. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.